Now, 4 desperate 999 calls were played to an inquest jury today, recording the urgent pleas for help from a woman whose husband was dying from a heart attack. Joyce Pring told the hearing that she was treated with a total lack of compassion by the emergency service operator she'd called for help. Fred Pring died at his home in North Wales 50 minutes after his wife first rang for an ambulance. The inquest heard he would have survived if it had arrived earlier. Our Home Affairs correspondent Andy Davies reports.
It was just after 1 in the morning in March last year when Joyce Pring dialed 999 as she told the inquest into her husband's death today. Fred Pring was 74. He had a history of heart problems and had woken his wife at their home near Mold in North Wales, complaining of a particularly bad chest pain.
And I said to him, "Do you want me to call an ambulance?" And he said yes straight away. So I rang 999. And I went through all the answers to the questions that they put to you. I told them exactly what was wrong with him, that he was finding it difficult to breathe and he had pain in his chest. And they said they'd send an ambulance.
She waited for 10 minutes, but there was no ambulance. Her husband's condition visibly deteriorating, she dialed 999 again, a recording of which was played at today's hearing. In this second call, the tone has changed markedly. Joyce Pring, sounding increasingly desperate, is now talking about the agony her husband's in, his difficulty with breathing, his panicking. "I just want someone here," she tells the operator. And in the background, you can hear her husband crying out in pain and groaning with each breath. Horrific is how the coroner described the recording today.
He was struggling to breathe. And he was very, very frightened. And I just felt so helpless.
She calls 999 for a third time. Half an hour passes, 40 minutes, still no ambulance. It's then she says that her husband just slumps back in the pillow and stops breathing. She calls 999 for a fourth time and tells the operator, "I think that my husband has just died." "Right, okay," says the operator, "tell me exactly what's happened." Mrs. Pring explains, and the operator suggests she move her husband to check his airways, then asks, "Are there any neighbours who can try and help you?" "You're not hearing what I'm saying," replies Joyce Pring. "He has gone. Can you not understand that?" 3 ambulances would eventually arrive, it's understood, 48 minutes after the initial 999 call. The head of the Welsh Ambulance Service Trust, who'll appear at the inquest tomorrow, has previously apologised to Mrs. Pring, citing a lack of resources. Her husband's cardiologist told the inquest this afternoon that had an ambulance arrived shortly after the first call, the 74-year-old would have survived.
I just try and have to live with it, really. I have to live, especially with that last hour. You know, seeing someone that you've been married to for nearly 40 years, suffering, you know, terrible pain, struggling to breathe, becoming frightened by the minute. It's not easy to live with that. That's the image that stays with you, really.
The fact that there were 4 999 calls made before any ambulance arrived was described by the coroner here today as a shocking revelation. So how did it happen? Well, the head of the Welsh Ambulance Service will be here tomorrow to give their evidence, and he's expected to raise a big issue, not just for the NHS here in Wales, but for the NHS in some other parts of Britain too, namely that of ambulances being delayed because they're having to park up outside A&E departments and wait until those A&E departments admit the patients they're trying to bring in. And that happened, we learned today, in this case, with one crew having to wait 1 hour and 39 minutes outside a hospital before it could take its next call. And that next call, tragically, was the one to the house of Fred and Joyce Pring.